experience. We want to focus on important things like good sportsmanship, goal setting, teamwork, keeping kids active, and creating lifelong friendships and community building that have been hallmarks of the league for over 30 years. So again, we want that to be the cornerstone of what we're doing. Market reference, we've had some kids move on to the higher levels of the sport, and that's great. We're excited about that. We're proud of those kids, but we're just as proud of the kid that goes from barely being able to make the way across the pool at the start of the season to being able to have some confidence in the water and be safe in the water. And they may not go on to swim at the collegiate level, but if they enjoy it, they keep coming back every year and they're bringing their friends, that's just as important to us as any gold medal in the Olympics. So again, as I've mentioned, we built a positive culture. Let's keep it that way. So again, it's really crucial for us to all get on board with this and encourage each other to keep this in mind. If you keep that as the center of what you're doing, trust me, your job, as challenging as it may be, becomes a lot easier. But if we get so, drilled down into, we have to win this meet, we have to win this race, honestly, it's just going to be a lot more stressful and difficult for everybody. And frankly, you're going to kind of get some funny looks from people if you're one of these just type A uber, competitive people. I mean, again, we keep score. Don't get me wrong. We hand out different colored ribbons. We hand out different trophies at the end of the year. But if you ask most of these kids 5 minutes after the swim meet was over what the score was, they probably wouldn't know. They wouldn't even know if their team won. But they're real engaged in hanging out with their teammates and, going out to dinner with everybody and hanging out with the coaches. And coming to practice for that fun Friday when they get their ribbons and everything else. That's just as important as as to what they're doing. So again, we want this to be fun and enjoyable. We want a structure to this. I mean, there's a reason we've got a rule book. We'll cover the details of that in our subsequent meetings. But again, fun has got to be at the center of it. If you can't follow these simple ideas, I hear lacrosse and soccer are very enjoyable and a lot of fun. So try those. Because otherwise, like I said, you're not going to find a whole lot of kindred spirits in ASA. So next slide, please. So dates for the season, we're teeing things up in late May, as we always do, late May, early June. The in-town teams, mainly Buckhead, Dunwoody, DeKalb County, the North Lake area, they fired up on Tuesday nights starting on May 30th. That goes through for 5 weeks, with the last meet being on Monday, June 26th. Again, those teams have got a divisional championship session on Wednesday or Thursday. So we're moving up that last meet to Monday. So again, plan accordingly with your neighborhood to let them know. The northern teams fired up on Thursday, June 1st, go through until Tuesday, June 27th. Same idea. Their divisional sessions will be on Friday or Saturday, depending on how we align those. Note at the bottom, if you have an issue with hosting a meet on a particular date, or you really need to have a home meet on a particular date because your coordinator are there or they're not there, let us know. Okay, that can take the form of, as many of you have submitted your team status form for the year. I think we got about almost all the teams, save about 15 or 20. You've either let us know through that, or you can just drop me an email. But the deadline for that is March 25th, which is approaching at the end of this week. We need to know that so we can get cracking on getting the actual schedule done. And I'll cover the details of how that process works in just a moment. But most importantly, we really need you guys to get cracking on getting that team status update form, completed if you haven't done it. Again, let us know any dates that you can or cannot host a meet, or in particular, any opponents that you would like to swim, based on, we've got a ranking system that, again, I'm going to cover that in detail in just a moment. But if you got teams that you would prefer to swim or maybe not swim, if you can let us know in advance of that, we do take requests. We try to make this happen as best we can. We can't necessarily guarantee, though, if you send me something, okay, we want to swim this team on this week at this pool, this next team on the next week. If you give me 5 meets and say when you want to swim them, that's probably not going to happen. But 1 or 2 requests, we can try and make that happen. Okay. Next slide, please. The ASA Championship meet, again, we're scheduled for the end of June, starting on June 28th, going through July 1st. Again, sessions will be a time final format again this year. We will use the 2-pool setup with the boys in 1 pool, the girls in another. Again, we do plan to webcast this year's meet. They finally got all that sorted out at Georgia Tech. Session assignments will be released on April 7th, which is also when we'll release the full schedule for the season. The Tuesday night teams will swim on either June 28th or 29th. The Thursday teams will swim on June 30th or July 1st. And again, teams go down and swim in one session, either in the morning or the late afternoon. And that's it. You go down and swim in one session, and that's your championship. Okay. Works out great. Nice, easy, simple for families to be able to get it done. All the kids are there at the same time, and it works out great. And the sessions usually tend to last about 3 or 3.5 hours. So that served us well. It's been very popular recently. Entry fees for this year's meet are $45 per swimmer. That frankly is a reflection of the significant increase in the rental costs at Georgia Tech. That's, they've really kind of, they're playing catch up on some things. So that's where the entry fee is, but it does cover all events for the meet for the kids. So that's, again, part and parcel of swimming in that championship meet. The GRPA state meet, the all-star meet at the end of the summer, will be Friday, July 14th and Saturday, July 15th at Columbus Aquatic Center. We'll cover that in greater detail down the road, but in general, the way that meet works is kids qualify for an all-star meet at the end of the summer based on where they live. And that's the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association. So that's handled by the local Parks and Rec associations like Alpharetta Parks and Rec, Forsyth County, DeKalb County, City of Roswell, City of Milton, City of Sandy Springs, as well as Johns Creek and a couple of other municipalities scattered throughout the league. Each municipality has their own qualifying process, and that's going to be everything from competing in the ASA meet, putting a marker on your swimmer when you do the entries, or it may be a completely separate qualifying meet. So again, we pass that information along from the different municipalities as we get it and post it on the ASA website. It's up to each team to educate yourself on how that qualifying process works. So again, if we post the information as we get it. So if you don't see it, you need to reach out to your Parks and Rec Association. I would say if you don't see information by late May, you need to contact them in early June to see what their processes are going to be, because every group is different. I do know for a fact that Johns Creek, City of Alpharetta, Forsyth County, and I believe Sandy Springs will continue to use the ASA meet as their qualifier. I believe that DeKalb County and Roswell are still going to continue to offer a separate, as well as Cherokee County, are going to offer a separate qualifying meet that is completely separate and on a different date from the ASA championship. But again, the important thing there is educate yourselves, learn how the qualification process works, so you can let your families know to plan accordingly, because there's nothing more frustrating for a family to have a kid have a great season and then find out about this thing called the state meet at the end of the summer, and then find out that they missed the qualifying process. Quick question popped up about Forsyth County. They are using the ASA meet again this year. So that's the dates for the season. That's the championship. Let's move on to the next slide, please. So rankings and schedules. So how's the schedule done each year? So every season we go through and we use 3 criteria to rank the teams based on their performance from the previous year. Those are the team size. Teams get 1 ranking point for every 20 swimmers they have on their team. And we count 8 and under swimmers as half a swimmer, frankly, because most teams are bottom weighted. They tend to have a lot of younger swimmers that are just trying out the sport. So we don't want to penalize a team with, a great number of, young and introductory swimmers. That's 1 ranking point for every 20 swimmers. Scoring the championship meet, you get 1 ranking point for every 200 points you score in your championship session. And then dual meet wins, they count 3 ranking points for every dual meet win. So Evan, if you don't mind, if you'll click on that rankings link. As you can see, the rankings link is right here. I'm going to send out a recap of this with these links. You'll be able to see where your team ranked from last year. Essentially what we do is we go through and rank the teams from first to whatever in their geographic pods. So again, as big as ASA is, we still are broken into almost 10 different geographic groups, ranging from Cherokee and Forsyth County all the way down to DeKalb County. So if you want to slide back to the presentation, we rank the teams, again, based on those criteria. There are a couple of other speed bumps we put in there. No team can improve more than 6 ranking spots in 1 year. So we kind of limit teams on the way up. We don't want them to what we call yo-yo, back and forth between having a great year, going 5-0, having a bunch of people go to the championship meet, and then getting a really, really, really tough schedule the following year, and then going 0-5 the next year, and then just bouncing back and forth. So in order to manage that, we limit how quickly you can rise. You can fall, however, as fast and as furious as you want. If you just have a really rough season, coach didn't work out, had pool construction issues, all sorts of other factors that might have caused you to have a just less than great season. Well, we're going to let you fall as quick as you can and get you back on your feet with an easier schedule. How we set the schedule up from there is we take the team's rankings, and then we're going to comprise that of meets within 6 ranking spots above or below you. Okay. So it's kind of a dynamic set of scheduling, and the schedule's balanced. 2 meets with teams ranked above you, 3 meets with teams ranked below you, or vice versa. Okay. Teams can request specific opponents, though, that are outside of those ranking areas. Okay. So again, as I mentioned earlier, if you have specific requests, email those to me now. The deadline for that is the 25th. Or better yet, if you hadn't filled out that team status form, make sure you complete that. And there's a spot in there to include specific scheduling notes. Okay. From there, we will have the schedule completely done by April 7th. Okay. The reason we would do this stuff a lot earlier, however, every year, as is the case right now, we have a couple of teams that are kind of up to the last minute trying to figure out if they're going to have a team or not. So again, we have been bitten by that in the past. We try to do schedules very early, and one team falling out has a complete domino effect across the board. So one other thing to note, it looks like we may have an odd number of teams this year. So that's going to result in some tri-meets. We're going to take smaller teams and have 3 teams present at 1 meet, but it works out fine. We've been doing it for years and shouldn't be much of a problem, but that is something to kind of put on your radar that will likely pop up. Any questions regarding the schedule? All right, moving on. Next slide, please. So what do you need to do now? One of the big things is we need you to go in and update your team info, your contact info, who's the coach, who's the rep, where the pool is, what number of lanes you have. Do you dive in from the shallow end? Do you dive in from the deep end? Do you have blocks? Do you not have blocks? So again, Evan, if you don't mind, click on that team page link. If you notice, actually go back to the first link or team information page. On the ASA Swimtopia website, you'll notice there's a list of all the teams in the league. Click on one of those teams. This is kind of the forward-facing version of how we communicate with each other. So when you guys are, reaching out to an opponent for the following, for that week's meet, you need to know who to talk to, whether it's a rep or a coach or whoever else. It's also helpful for the visiting team to know, hey, we're going to a metric pool. It's got 6 lanes. It's got 5 lanes. How are we going to start in that pool? It's also got a link to the map to the pool. This information is crucial and has got to be updated every year with, take out the old reps, put in the new reps. And we want this to be as thorough as possible. So again, please go check that carefully for your team. And if anything needs to be adjusted, go back one. One of the links here will show you how to go in and edit that on your ASA Swimtopia page. Okay. The link to that is listed there, and I've sent that out multiple times. We can go back to the slide, please. Please be sure to include and mark all your team personnel on your Swimtopia page as well. So on your Swimtopia page for your team, you've got people listed. One of those links is for people, and one of them is for roles. One of the important things for that is I need you as teams, you need to go in and designate your team reps, your coaches, and your computer people with the ASA linked role that's tied to your Swimtopia site. Okay. Links on how to do this are listed here, but I'm going to kind of walk you through this. You can go to that example we were talking about. If you go into your actual team page, you'll see that normal manage team screen. If you look under roles, you'll see several linked roles in there that have got that blue badge that says shared, and it's got a little link thing to it. Those go directly to ASA and our website. So when we send out an email from the Swantopia website, that allows us to speak directly to you. We're trying to get away from using constant contact as our communication avenue, which frankly is going to limit the number of emails that you get, because right now we're still kind of mirroring those two systems to make sure nobody gets lost in communication chain. But this only works if you guys are going through this step and linking your appropriate people. And that is all of your team reps, okay? From the head person down to, you know, the assistant that's in line to be the head team rep in 5 years, okay? This especially includes all of your coaches. This is crucial for us because at times we want to send targeted emails to the coaches to remind them about things like completing their background checks, making sure that they understand that they've done their coaches certification, and providing them with other crucial information about the championship meet and other things that we may not send to the broader audience, but the coaches certainly need to know about it, okay? But they don't get included in this communication loop if they're not listed here. Additionally, this is where we collect information to know who your coaches are on your team, which allows us to double check and help you guys as coordinators make sure that all of your coaches have completed their according certifications and background checks that need to be done. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. Okay. But it's important for you, crucial for you to list every coach, everything from the junior coaches all the way up to the head coaches. Okay. Make sure all of them are linked. So if you notice there's a button on there for assign roles, if you click on that, you'll look, it'll pull up a screen that looks like this, and there's a button for add remove. So there's a link over here for coach. You click add or remove, and you just literally type in the name of that person. So do me a favor, if you'll click on just add remove. If you notice,
removing me?
not absolutely not. We're leaving Evan in there. He's important. So again, if you notice, you get that dialog box. If you just type in the letters, you know, the first few letters of that person's name and click save, it'll assign them to that particular role. Okay. But it is really important for you to do that. It does not stay resident from 1 year to the next. As you update your season and jump to the 2023 season, we're kind of clearing the decks on that. So it's really important for you to make sure that you include that in there. And these are specifically for the ASA roles, the ASA linked roles. Some of you guys may have a coach, your own team coach designation, and that's fine. You can keep that, but we're applying specifically to the shared role. Somebody mentioned, what happens if you have a gray box that says exempt? That's probably more than likely an internal team role that you've got listed that you put restrictions on. Okay. One other thing to note, in a lot of cases with your team pages, the ability to do this is limited to admins on the site. So it may be something that you might have access to this information, but you may not be able to assign the roles. So make sure that the proper people that have administrative permissions go ahead and do this. And again, this needs to be done sooner rather than later. Okay. Additionally, remove people that may have moved or, you know, frankly, say you had a coach, didn't work out. They probably don't want to continue to get emails about the swim season. Okay. So again, make sure you remove people that don't need to be included, and certainly add all the people that need to be included. Okay. There's also, again, a role in there for computer people. That's important for those people to be looped in because we do send out periodic reminders about Swimtopia and Meet Maestro that they certainly need to be included in the communication loop. Let's go back and go back one more. And last but not least on that page, you really need to complete the ASA team status form if you have not done so already. I will send out a recap of any teams that are not on that list. Don't take it personally, but if I don't have that information, I need to have it to know that you're actually going to be in the league this year and that I need to put you on the schedule. If I don't see you on there, I will not include you on the schedule. So again, make sure if you have not done that, click the link here when I'll send out again this item. Make sure you click on that link, complete the information, The most important stuff is A, letting us know you're going to have a team, B, specific requests for meets and meet dates, and other, again, pertinent information that we need to know about your team for the coming season. Next slide, please. Okay, the Safer Summer Program from summerleagueswimming.com. Mark Nedza, who was on here earlier, he has helped come up with a terrific program that has allowed us to do thorough background checks on our coaches. It also provides a great training resource for a coach's certification course. These are requirements for every coach in the league and must be done before that coach interacts with their swimmers in any team function. Okay, this is crucial. It is a safety matter, it's a liability matter, and it's just frankly a common sense thing. This applies to all coaches. It must be done every year. Your coach may come to you and say, oh, well, I'm a USS coach. I've done a background check. Well, it's not through the provider that the league has. And we have a more thorough background check, believe it or not, than US Swimming. It's specific to the Atlanta area and is, again, it's part of the requirements of our insurance policy that we have. Okay. The coach's certification course takes about an hour. It's an online course. Again, it's not, it's not complicated. It's quite simple to complete, but it is a requirement for everyone to complete. Everyone from, the junior coaches all the way up through the head coaches. The background checks and coach certification must be done for all coaches age 18 and older. Okay. The background checks in the past, we had gone, I think, as young as 16. We've been informed from our risk management people that 18 and older is sufficient. Okay. So it's background check and certification for those folks age 18 and older. Background checks are advised for any reps that are going to have regular contact with the swimmer. So if that rep is also helping out as an assistant coach, or they're frankly on deck every day interacting with the swimmers, they probably should complete a background check as well. Okay. Again, it's common sense and a safety matter. Someone mentioned they're 17 now, but turn 18 in mid-June. I would go ahead and do the background check if they're going to turn 18 during the season. The coach's certification course is only required for coaches ages 17 and under. Okay. That includes your junior coaches. That reaches down to junior coaches, say, to about age 14, I think is sufficient. I think younger than that, it's a little bit over their heads. But I think any of your junior coaches ages 14 or from 14 to 17, they need to at least complete the coach's certification course. Okay. Coaches ages 18 or older, background check and coach's certification. Coaches 17 to 14, just the coach's certification. Okay. Full instructions on how to complete these requirements have already been emailed out to you and are included at the link that we'll send out with this presentation. Okay. This is all crucial to be done, obviously, like I said, for safety, for peace of mind, for liability reasons. Okay. It also is a requirement of our league insurance policy. So it's crucial for that to be done. Additionally, once the coaches have done that, they get additional professional insurance as a coach. So they're covered with additional liability insurance. If they don't complete that, then, they're subject to greater liability and risk exposure. And more importantly, we do not want a single coach on a pool deck that has not met this requirement that the league has laid out. Okay. All fees for these programs are covered by ASA. There are coupon codes listed in the instructions. So again, there's no added cost to the coaches or teams as long as they complete this and follow the instructions. If you pay for it, that's your problem. You didn't follow these instructions. Okay. So the coach says, oh, I've done this, it cost me $30. Well, that's their fault because they didn't follow the instructions. More importantly, the results of these need to be shared with the teams directly. You are the ones employing the coach. You're the ones that hired them. You're the ones that supervise them. It is a requirement of each team to confirm that this has been done. And that is a very simple thing for the coach to send to you. And again, it's a privacy matter. Background checks cannot be directly shared without the express authorization of the person that had the background check completed on them. So it's incumbent upon your coach, and everyone's like, well, they're teenagers. Well, this is a learning experience. It's a job requirement. It's something that's got to be done. Okay. The instructions are very clear as to how to download the results of the background check, how to download the results of a completed coach's certification, and then all they have to do is send you a PDF, an email of that result. It's really simple. In fact, I believe there is a way for them to specifically designate the team rep as an email address to send them those results of that background check. Okay. But it's incumbent upon the teams to double check and make sure that your coaches have all met that requirement. If they have not, you're creating a massive liability exposure risk. And again, we don't want to assume the worst of something that's going to happen. But like I said, if something does happen and you've not checked this box, you've got a serious problem on your hands. Okay. Again, the results of these are not shared automatically with the teams, and they're not shared with the league. Okay. The league, however, we do get results that say this person has at least completed the check. So we'll send out periodic updates of those as the season proceeds, as we get close to the season. And it's up to you guys to go, oh, by the way, you have not done this. Don't you dare walk on that pool deck until you've done it. Okay. Most importantly, have your coaches do this now. Don't wait until the middle of May when your team is a day away from starting practice and you haven't completed this requirement. Okay. It's a very serious matter that needs to be taken with all due seriousness. So again, please make sure that you follow these simple instructions to get this done, and make sure we check this box. Next slide, please. Registration, late fees, refunds, etc. So all teams must complete registration via Swimtopia. Most teams are already kind of up and running with that. If you hadn't set your registration up yet, I would get on it. Late fees are going to start applying pretty soon. ASA fees are $35 per swimmer, plus a $2.75 Swimtopia charge and $2 transaction fee. Bottom line, it's $39.75 total, all in. Okay. The $2.75 gets paid directly to Swimtopia. Okay. Unlike last year when ASA collected those fees and then sent a big check to Swimtopia at the end of the summer, we've set it up to where it's just directly charged there. The $2 transaction fee is frankly covering credit card fees and other transactional fees. Late fee number 1 will kick in on April 16th, and it's $20 per swimmer above and beyond what the original fee is. Late fee number 2 of $25 per swimmer kicks in on June 2nd. Okay. Please make sure you get your registration set up and get word out to your families. Every year I get a handful of upset parents are like, I got a late fee. This isn't my fault. And I'm like, well, it is. We've been telling teams since January to open registration. We've had our side of that up and ready to go since I believe January 10th. So again, it's incumbent upon the teams to get these things up and running. There's no harm in opening registration to get that done. So again, please make sure you open your registration soon to avoid these late fees. Teams that have junior programs, this is new this year. We've set it up to where essentially it's $20 per swimmer plus the roughly $2 Swimtopia fee, a $2.75 Swimtopia fee, and a $2 transaction fee. That's new this year. The main reasoning for this is this came from our risk management people. Some teams said, oh, well, we're just not going to charge that fee to the swimmers. Well, by doing that, you're also not covered by the league insurance policy. So that was a massive liability exposure for teams and programs. This clears that hurdle. But since those kids don't tend to have as much of a financial drag on the league, they don't gobble up all the ribbons and everything else. That, again, is something we found kind of a intro level for these junior swimmers. If you have a swimmer that graduates from the junior program, the Ripples, the Mini Marlins, the Mini Cudas, whatever your program is, we'll need to mop that up and cover the full registration fee. That's a simple email to me, and we'll talk through the steps on how to do that. Okay. Please make sure you configure your registrations accordingly. I've sent out multiple instructions on how to do that. Make sure that you set up the separate registrations for the junior program and for the ASA competitive swimmers. So there's competitive and non-competitive. Okay. They can't be set up as one waiver on the same registration thing. If you do that, they're going to end up paying, you know, $60+ to swim, and we'll have to refund the duplicate fee. They got to be set up as separate registrations, either using the competitive or the non-competitive waiver. If for some reason you have to refund a team registration, if you refund it, we refund the ASA portion. That's a simple email to me. There have been instructions sent out on how to do that. The main thing we need from you, though, is there is in your Swimtopia registration software, there is a copied link listed in a registration that if you just click on that and then paste that into the email that you send me going, I need registration for this person, it lets us click on that link and immediately refund those fees. Otherwise, we got to hunt around through registration numbers, and it's just a little bit more convoluted process. We're giving teams essentially until May 20th to, again, that's usually most teams have been through at least a week of practice to figure out if, you know, they show up at practice, the water's cold. It's a lot more daunting for a younger swimmer. Again, we want to help them out. Referees this year, again, are paid $100 per meet, split between the two teams. I'll cover that in greater detail during the rules meeting in April. Any questions so far? Terrific. Meet management for 2023. Again, we're using Swimtopia completely for registration and for meet management. We're using their Meet Maestro product, which we used full bore last year for the first time, worked out wonderfully. Lineup creation is done in Swimtopia. Lineup exchange is done via Meet Maestro. Everything gets put together nice and easy. You don't have to input all those heats and lanes except for the Heat 1 swimmers. And then Swimtopia works its magic and merges the meet together. And it's a very quick and seamless process. I would start working with your Meet Maestro software now, kind of get back up to speed with it. Go through, set up some test meets, kind of get familiar again with how to enter times, how to adjust places, how to generate ribbons, how to print the reports you want. There are great links on the ASA website. Do me a favor, Evan, can you get the league website? And again, we're going to offer the Meet Maestro training. The webinar links have been sent in May. Just click over on resources. If you go to the ASA website, asa.swimtopia.com, if you go down under resources and go to Swimtopia tutorials, you'll see this great link with a ton of different links that are either directly to ASA driven or Swimtopia driven, how to do stuff. And it goes everything from registration all the way through to doing a lineup. We've got recordings of the webinars that have been done. And these are terrific ways to kind of at your own pace, get up to speed with how to do things. Okay. So if you're ever looking for help on something, again, I continue to tell you, I'm a phone call or email away. But if you want to kind of do this at your own pace, this is a great place to go. It's a lot of information, but again, it's organized in a pretty intuitive manner. And again, the links are terrific. Swimtopia has been such a wonderful partner that that we've really enjoyed working with and continue to enjoy working with. So again, they provided wonderful resources on their side to help get you guys up to speed on a product that's already, I think, pretty easy to use. So let's slide back to the presentation, please. Again, training is going to be offered in April, covering meet entries, and in May, covering Meet Maestro and how to merge a meet, score things, run ribbons, and so forth. Next slide, please. The ASA website, well, we were just there, asa.swimtopia.com. It's got a great deal of information, very helpful. That you know, it's got league rules. When the schedule's done, it'll be there. Contact info and maps for all the member teams. Again, that info is only as good as what you guys put on there. So make sure that you update those team pages. Make sure that those are current and accurate. Double check, make sure that, you know, the lane numbers are correct, the pool measurements are right, whether it's metric or yards, all the important stuff that we need to know. Also included on there, results from previous ASA meets from the championship meet. We'll put our league newsletter up there on a normal basis. And that's also where you can go. If you click on the Go back to home, please. If you notice on that page, recent news, if you click on that, that's got all of our league meetings, all the recordings from what, webinars and other training sessions. So again, those are terrific resources that we'd like putting at your fingertips. Also, if there's ever anything that you don't see on that website that you do want to see, hey, email, call, let me know. I'll be sure to get that out to you as soon as possible, or do the best that I can to adjust that as we need to. We want that to be a very good, thorough resource, not just for you, the coordinators, but for your coaches, for your computer people, for your parents. That's where we'll post all the information about the upcoming championship meet as that stuff becomes, comes into a clearer focus. So again, that's always a great place to start when you're looking for info to answer questions. But like I said, if the answer's not there, call me, email me, show up in the front door if you have to. Okay. I'm here to help. Other things to cover, we will again to continue to offer our league scholarship program. That is for essentially our graduating swimmers. Those are specifically designed to kind of highlight the kids that have, they're the good citizens of the league. We also really want to reward the kids that have stuck with it. The ones that have been doing this their entire life. They started as a kid that could barely drink their way from one end of the pool to the other, and now they're like the head coach. They're, good swimmer, bad swimmer. It's not necessarily about how good a swimmer they are. It's more about what kind of person they are and what kind of example they serve as to other members of your team. Because again, they're crucial. I mean, they're part of this whole, have fun, have a good experience. They're the ones that the other kids really look up to, that we want to highlight and recognize and reward them. It's not much, covers a couple of books, but it is $750 per kid. All it takes is one nominating letter. And that is the requirement, one nominating letter. We do not need 1,000 of those. We want one good comprehensive letter telling us about the kid, who they are, what kind of person they are, what their experience in the league has been about. Okay. Those are due when the championship entries are due, about a week before the championship meet. Team Sportsmanship Award. We want to recognize the teams that are good citizens of the league. We want to really kind of highlight the teams that have, really embrace and foster that positive attitude that we want to see at our meets and with our teams. So if you have a really good experience with the team, you show up, they had a great time. Sorry, that was my dog. But again, if you have something like that happen, just an email is all we need. We try to keep track of those as the season goes along. So again, if you have a really good experience, let me know. Your feedback is crucial throughout the year, especially when it comes to swim meets. And I'll continue to kind of hit on this in subsequent meetings, but your feedback every week, whether it's an email or a phone call going, hey, we had a great experience with this team, or hey, we swam this team, they're struggling. They might have some issues, or hey, they may not be understanding this whole sportsmanship thing. We need to know about that. And it's not because we're trying to rat anybody out or get anybody in trouble, but it's honestly because we want to help teams. And if teams are kind of off track and they're struggling, sometimes it's hard to ask for help. And sometimes they don't realize that they're struggling. They just think that, oh, this is just hard. Well, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be easier. It is a challenging job. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to scare you, but you got a lot of moving parts. You got a lot of people involved. You got a lot of parents involved. And the parents sometimes are the crazy ones and the tough ones to deal with. So again, if there's anything that you see that we can help, just let us know. But that's kind of where that sportsmanship award, going back to that, that's where we're coming from with that. Next slide, please. Other items to cover. As is the case, we want, our meets are refereed by, kids in a lot of cases, high school students, college students. If you are interested in officiating, either as a coach or a rep, you're like, well, how can I officiate in our league? Well, some teams swim on Tuesday, some teams swim on Thursday. So if you're a Tuesday night team, Thursday night's wide open for you if you're not, having practice or something like that. The flip side applies. Thursday teams are available to work on Tuesdays. Okay. Same thing applies even to the championship meet. you're only going to be there for one session. There are 6 other sessions you could help out with, either as a referee or a bullpen worker. So we provide those opportunities for coaches and parents and other people to get involved. It's a great way to make some extra money and stay involved with the sport. So if you're interested, email Evan at atlantaswimming.com for more info. We're in the process of signing people up. We do a training clinic in May. It's a real simple process, but we want kids, obviously kids ages, 16 and older is usually what we're looking for. They need to have transportation to get around town to get to these meets. We obviously want kids that have got experience with competitive swimming. Most kids know the swimming rules at this point when they're that age. So they're kind of coming in ready-made. It's our job to kind of fine-tune their knowledge of the sport, kind of the how to run a swim meet. So grown-up swimming, I think Evan covered that in the vendor presentations. But again, there is a summer league program for swimmers ages 19 and older. It doesn't have to cut off when ASA ends. Brian Robbins has done an awesome job in setting up a summer league program for adults, and it's called Grown-Up Swimming. Ton of fun, very social. It's a great way to stay involved with the sport. It's a great way for your kids to come out and watch you swim and cheer you on, which is kind of neat. So again, if you're interested in that, links for Brian Robbins are listed there. He's a terrific guy, has done a wonderful job with that program. Also, Fall League, ASA will continue to offer that extended extra season in August and September. It's been great for the last couple of years. So if you've got kids that want to kind of stay involved in the sport, maybe get a few more meets in, you want to try out that assistant coach, maybe that's going to be the head coach next year, or, just give your assistant coach some broader exposure because the head coach is back at college or whatever. This is a great way to kind of do that. So again, info on that, we'll email that. Excuse me. We'll email that out as that time window approaches. But if you're interested, email me now and I'll kind of put you in the communication loop.
Hey, Frank, there's a question about
ribbon pickup.
If you're unable to pick up ribbons.
Yeah. So as is the case, we've got ribbon pickup listed in early to mid-May at Marist. If you can't pick them up on that date, they will still be available during the coaches meetings that are at Marist. We're going to try and limit people coming on campus at Marist to that meeting on the 10th or the coaches meetings. Additionally, there is an option, and we'll email details out on this, to where you can have your ribbons delivered for, I think the fee was like $30. So if you can't do it, you just, email us. We'll put you in contact with somebody that literally, they'll grab the ribbons, deliver the box to your pool, to your house, whichever.
Or a good suggestion if you have a neighboring pool.
Yeah. And other thing, Evan just mentioned it. If you got a neighboring pool, neighborhood across the street that's got a team, they're going to be there, they can pick up your ribbons for you. Okay. But the main thing we would like to encourage teams to do is again, like most schools are a lot more particular about letting people on campus during school. So what used to be a case where you just swing by the pool whenever you wanted to and grab them, that's not quite as free and available as it has been in the past, but there will be subsequent opportunities beyond the May 10th date to be able to pick those ribbons up. Any other questions about that? All right, let's move on. Upcoming meetings. What else are we going to do? We have an ASA rules clinic on Wednesday, April 19th, 6:30 p.m. Complete review of league rules and any meet processes. Coaches can exempt their coaches meeting requirement by participating in this rules clinic. So in addition to the 2 opportunities we give coaches in late May to participate in the coaches meeting, they can also exempt this requirement by participating in this rules meeting in April. Okay. The link is listed right here. Again, it's important that you guys participate in this so you can understand the rules. May ribbon distribution meeting, we do a complete review of how to run a swim meet, which is really helpful for any new teams or new team reps. I strongly encourage you to participate in that. That will be done in person at Marist on May 10th. We'll also record that session as well and provide more than likely a Zoom option if we can. Otherwise, like I said, we'll at least record it and publish it as soon as we can after the meeting. Coaches meetings, again, those are required at least, we would like to have all coaches participate in those coaches meetings if possible. At least the ones ages 15 and older. but certainly the head coach should be there to participate in this. And as many assistants as you can possibly get there. Those are going to be offered on Sunday, May 21st or Sunday, May 28th. They don't have to go to both. They just have to go to one. But I know graduation's around that time. There's a lot going on. So that's why we're offering 2 options plus the rules meeting in April. You got 3 chances to get this right. If the coaches can't find a way to do that, then they're subject to a $50 fine. So there's no reason that your coaches shouldn't be able to meet that requirement. Okay. Next slide. Backline. Swimtopia training as well. So we're going to cover the meet entries, how to set your meet entries up and complete a lineup on Wednesday, April 12th at 7 p.m. And then the Meet Maestro training is on Saturday, May 6th at 10 a.m. Again, these are all recorded, but they're also available to anybody that wants to participate. So again, we encourage you guys, especially your computer people, to take part in these. Next slide, please. Before I get to the last slide, I will cover one topic that I kind of hit on every year. I really put this forward to your coaches in particular. Communication is a really, really crucial part of what we're all doing leading up to the season, during the season, after the season. And that communication is multi-level. It's, it goes from, the coach communicating with their swimmers, you as coordinators communicating with your coaches, communicating with other teams, coach to coach, rep to rep, the league communicating with you. We try to be pretty thorough about sending out a great number of emails and as much info as we can that we publish on the league website. But that communication part really, really plays a really important role in how well your season, how well your meets run. And it really does an important, job of dealing with, as we all know, the crazy parent that's out there. The more thorough you are about providing information to parents when practice is, what's expected at practice, what's expected from the athletes, what their behavior is supposed to be, what the consequences are if you don't follow those requirements. The more upfront you are about that, the more likely it's going to be things will run a lot smoother. But if you just, you run into that problem parent and you haven't put forward a great amount of detail that is, covering all these topics, it opens up a pretty big door for you guys that you have to clean up after the fact. So again, try to account for as many things as you can up front. What expectations are, what's expected of your swimmers, how they're supposed to behave at meets. Volunteering is the other big one. I know that's becoming a bigger and bigger challenge for teams throughout the year. So again, getting that out there up front and saying, hey guys, this thing doesn't run itself. Okay. That's a really important part of your jobs as coordinators and coaches, that if you stay in front of that, you're going to up your odds of having a lot less stressful summer. So again, let me encourage you. Communication is really key in what we're doing with all of this. I've covered a pretty good amount of real estate tonight. I hope it's been helpful and informative. Going back to what I say every year, thank you to every single one of you. Y'all are what makes this go. Y'all are what makes this possible. The coordinators, the coaches, all the volunteers. This is impossible without your participation and your dedication and the great work that you do. So anything that I can do as a coordinator, anything that Evan can do, Mark can do, any of us at ASA, anything that we can do to help you be successful, or if you just need a shoulder to cry on or a body to holler at, any of those things, we're here for that purpose. We want to help you out any way that we can. We really don't, we hate seeing teams struggle, especially in a job they're not getting paid for. Or, might not be, even as coaches, some of you guys are vastly undercompensated. So team reps, pay attention. Most of your coaches need a raise. Okay. There's a lot of moving parts in what we're doing throughout a summer, but you make such a meaningful impact on so many lives. I mean, most teams have got 100, 150 kids on them. To keep these kids engaged in something as positive as we've created here it's a wonder, and it's what the world needs today. So we want to help y'all to that end. We want y'all to keep that in mind as your priority, is making this fun and enjoyable. So again, that part, like I said, your job is thankless, but it's crucial to make these things go and make it work. Again, stay tuned, read the emails. I know there's going to be a flood of them. The closer we get to that championship meet, the more emails that come, but it all stops at the end of June. So again, that part, we try to be thorough, but we also try to be concise about what we're sending. But again, we need you guys to read the instructions, so to speak. So again, if you have any questions in the meantime, don't hesitate to call or email me. Email, phone number listed right there. I'm up late and up early. Okay. And if I don't answer the phone, I'm going to return a voicemail quickly. I'll return an email quickly. Okay. If I'm not returning it immediately, it's because I'm helping somebody else. Okay. But I will do my level best to again, be there as a resource and as a source of help and, support as best I can. With that, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be happy to, stick around for a few minutes.
So one question, Frankie said, what are coach pay rates that teams should be aiming for? Any suggestions or thoughts for kind of
They
benchmarking?
vary pretty widely. I mean, we do a survey at the end of every year, and I think the average coaches are making somewhere between $4,000 to $8,000 per summer for a head coach. Again, a lot of those factors are a function of how big the team is, what the responsibilities are of the coach. Are they just coming up and running practice and maybe doing a lineup and that's it? They don't stick around and help out with much else. That might involve paying a little bit less, but in a lot of cases, your coaches, this ends up being a, 30, 40 hour, a week job. It may not seem like that. You're like, oh, well, they're only at practice for a couple of hours and the meets only lasts this amount of time. But you think about it, they're going to probably get there about an hour before practice starts, make sure the lane ropes get put in the pool, make sure the kids are getting on deck safely. They're usually going to stick around after practice, answering questions from parents and helping out with things. They're going to spend a lot of time doing a lineup every week and tracking down everything. If they're helping above and beyond that and helping, run lesson programs and other things, that ends up being a lot more work than you think it is. So like I said, it varies from team to team, but if you want to talk about it, more exhaustively, I can give you some teams to benchmark off of that might be, similar to what your team are. You can reach out to me offline. So, quick reminder, if you got here a little bit late, if you can, please type in your team name and your name so we know you were here. Just helps us to know who was participating. And we will record this and we will send it out to teams in the next day or so. Again, real important reminder, if you've not filled out that team status survey yet, make sure we get that from you by tomorrow, because like I said, we're depending on that to be able to start working on schedules. And those schedules are a lot to deal with. It's like doing your taxes in the dark. Any other questions? All right, guys. Well, like I said, I really appreciate it. I know we're all going to have an awesome and wonderful, fun summer. So again, good luck, and we'll see you in April.